Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to completely demystify how the world's most advanced frontier AI models are actually being trained right now. We're drawing directly from some really fascinating insights shared by Jonathan Sadat, the CEO and co-founder of Turing. If you've ever wondered how AI goes from being, just a helpful chatbot to a fully autonomous system capable of running complex business operations, well, you are in the exact right place. We are literally mapping out the blueprint of artificial superintelligence today. Okay, let's dive into this, because this quote perfectly captures the massive shift happening behind closed doors at top AI labs right now. Just a few years ago, the data sets used to pre-train these models were, well, relatively commodity. Everyone was basically just scraping the same subset of the internet. But the models have gotten so incredibly smart that the floor has been raised. They're operating at expert human levels in a ton of areas now. So sending over simple data generated by single low-cost contractors, what Sadat calls the Iron Man approach, it's just no longer enough to push AI forward. To break through the current ceiling, you need elite interdisciplinary teams. You literally need the Avengers. And that brings us to the first major piece of the puzzle, the human intelligence cloud. To understand how we actually assemble these elite teams, we have to look at the first major progression in this story. It's a really fascinating pivot of a platform originally built to solve a completely different problem: tech hiring. Looking at Jonathan's journey here, you see a founder who was early to neural networks back in 2005 at Stanford, which is where he got bitten by the famous startup bug. He then spent 9 bruising years building his first company, Rover. But the really critical moment happened in 2017. He realized that competing for the exact same limited talent pool in Silicon Valley was a huge bottleneck. So he co-founded Turing with a totally new thesis. Let's use AI to source, vet, and match Silicon Valley caliber engineering talent from places where nobody else is looking. They built this massive network. And then, early 2022, they got a fateful call. OpenAI was working on GPT-3, and they needed to teach it how to code. They didn't just need data, they needed the collective brainpower of Turing's 3 million-strong global developer network. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive paradigm shift we're living through right now. On one side, you have the old world, the era of simple data. Basically, a data factory or a recruiting platform just throwing basic information over a wall for the AI to ingest. But on the other side, we see the new reality, the era of research accelerators. Because the models are advancing in such deep, complex dimensions now, you can't just use one person to find the flaws. Like, if you want to test a model's physics capabilities, you might need a PhD in physics to ask a complex question and break the model. But you also need to daisy chain that physicist with an expert software engineer to write a simulator to test the theory, and then a data scientist to analyze the simulation's results. It takes a highly orchestrated interdisciplinary loop of human intelligence to actually move the needle now. So all of this elite human effort is driving us toward a very specific destination: the 4 pillars of ASI. The industry is moving rapidly past the concept of AGI, or artificial general intelligence, and setting its sights entirely on artificial superintelligence. And there's actually a clear 4-step roadmap to get there. Let's walk through these 4 pillars logically. Step 1 is multimodality, giving the model the perception to understand audio, video, and images, kind of like humans reading body language or filtering out background noise. Step 2 is reasoning, which means solving really hard logic in STEM fields like physics and chemistry. Step 3 is tool use. Humans climbed the intelligence ladder by mastering tools. Well, an AI needs to know how to navigate software like LinkedIn, Salesforce, or ZoomInfo. And finally, step 4 is coding. And what you should absolutely take away from this is that coding is the ultimate meta skill. Because if an AI encounters a problem and doesn't know what tool to use, if it knows how to code, it can simply build the tool itself. If an AI masters these 4 pillars, it can effectively solve any type of knowledge work on Earth. Let's take these highly theoretical pillars and apply them directly to the real world, the $30 trillion opportunity. What actually happens when these advancing models hit the enterprise sector? $30 trillion. That staggering number right there is the total estimated value of global knowledge work currently just waiting to be automated. That is the true scale of what happens when AI graduates from being a simple text generator to an autonomous agent capable of executing complex, multi-step workflows. To truly grasp how we capture that $30 trillion, think of it kind of like a nested for loop in programming. For every single industry out there, let's say retail, there's a function, like marketing. Within that function, there's a role, director of performance marketing, and that role has a highly specific workflow.
right? Like analyzing the ROI across social dashboards, cross-referencing customer acquisition costs in NetSuite, and deciding how to optimize a website funnel. That single workflow requires multimodality to read the dashboards, reasoning to analyze the data, tool use to navigate the software, and coding to actually update the website. Solving the 4 pillars of ASI systematically automates every single cell of this vast, 4-dimensional matrix across every industry on the planet.
But here's the absolutely crucial point for anyone running a business today. For Fortune 500 CEOs to survive this massive transition, they cannot rely on generic, off-the-shelf AI copilots. Using basic chat interfaces, that's just table stakes now. The real winners are going to be the ones who fine-tune custom models specifically on their own proprietary data, distilling the unique insights of their absolute best human employees into the AI. And to do that, they have to safely navigate legacy data silos because, incredibly, a ton of mission-critical workflows still run on old spreadsheets, all while strictly protecting enterprise data confidentiality so they aren't accidentally training their competitors' models. Which brings us to the next AI frontier, and really the final critical question of all this. How on earth does the AI industry practically train these enterprise agents to perform these incredibly complex, proprietary business workflows without just making massive hallucinated mistakes? Well, the answer lies in something called an RL gym, or a reinforcement learning gym. Think of these as intricate world models for business. Turing actually creates functioning, Dockered replicas, essentially self-contained software clones of real-world environments like Uber Eats, Salesforce, or NetSuite. They ship these artificial environments to clients so that their AI agents can safely practice tool use, function calling, and multi-step workflows in a completely controlled space. It's exactly like a pilot spending hundreds of hours in a flight simulator before ever touching a real plane. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it represents a massive paradigm shift in how we teach computers. We're moving away from imitation learning on the left, where a human asks a question and then meticulously holds the AI's hand to show it the exact answer. Instead, we're entering the era of reinforcement learning. Here, humans create the complex prompts and the verifiers, basically the rules to check if the final answer is correct. But the AI is forced to figure out the actual path to the solution entirely on its own inside that RL gym. This allows the AI to run countless simulations and discover completely alien, hyper-efficient solutions that a human mind never would have even imagined. It's exactly how AI mastered the game of Go, coming up with moves that just baffled the world's best human players. And the timeline for this is moving breathtakingly fast. The expectation right now is that we'll see the maximal automation of white-collar knowledge work within just 3 years. But listen, humans aren't being replaced, they're being radically amplified. We're looking at a near future where we see 100x productivity gains per person. Imagine having agentic versions of yourself out in the digital world doing 100 interviews or executing 100 workflows in parallel. The physical constraints of human intelligence and time are just being removed. This means we're going to see radically smaller team sizes hitting massive revenue milestones. Someone like Elon Musk won't be limited to running 5 companies. With this level of amplification, he could legitimately run 500. Which leaves us with this final, incredible thought to ponder. As we distill human intelligence into these super intelligent models, the leverage available to a single individual is going to become completely astronomical. We are rapidly approaching a reality where a non-technical founder, armed with a fleet of custom autonomous enterprise agents, can build absolute empires. So I'll leave you with this. Are you ready for the era of the one-person billion-dollar company?